Hey, discerning listeners, Ultimatum, Queer Love, Season 2, Netflix, 2025. Finger guns. Boom, boom, boom. Let's watch.
Is me trying to control it and make myself feel better, and I can't do that. That's going to push you away.
I think that's huge because in the themes of our relationship, I think that we don't talk a lot about you also wanting control because I am such a control freak.
My control comes from insecurity.
Okay, so they are, from the looks of it, having a post-breakup conversation, which is great. I recommend that people breaking up have some form of these conversations. There's different versions of this. You don't have to do it right away. You might do it with a therapist. Of course, if you're breaking up with someone that is abusive or was abusive and you don't feel safe, then that has to be taken into account and maybe not have a conversation with those people. But in most relationships, there isn't abuse, and so it's usually safe, and there's a lot of emotional health that can happen for everybody, but particularly for the person being broken up with. So Pilar is being broken up with, and so she's processing her feelings, and I don't know if I showed it, but she's sort of thinking out loud. She's thinking, I want to change your mind, essentially, is what she's saying. I want to tell you how to feel, but that would be controlling you, and that wouldn't be okay. And so she is talking about that, making it explicit, and that's very healthy. It's very insightful, self-aware. And then also insightful, self-aware for Haley to say, I'm such a control freak. I really wonder what that means exactly, because in the bits that we saw, Haley wasn't what I would call a control freak. But of course, we're only seeing what they deem to show us in front of the cameras. The editors show us things. It's just a snippet of time. We don't see behind the scenes Haley and Pilar. But I think that Haley might be using that word a little exaggeratory for herself in terms of like the typical way that we will use the word a control freak or someone that's controlling in a relationship, abusively controlling. I think she might be using it as a way of referencing that she's particular or rigid or stubborn or wants Pilar to be more of the sort of partner that she wants her to be. I don't know. And is more demanding. I don't know. But it is interesting because I have been wondering if Haley and Megan were to continue to be together, what would that mean? Also, why are they attracted to each other to begin with? I don't want to pathologize people being attracted to each other, but the way that Megan presents and the way that she's talked about her personality, and you look at the dynamic between her and Dana, which I think is actually more complicated than it appears, but Dana comes across as more of the demanding one or more of the overfunctioner. Anyway, I think it's complicated because Megan, anyway, point is that I wonder if Haley and Megan were attracted to each other partially due to Megan's, one way of putting it is controlling nature. Another way of putting it is confident or demanding or strong, in quotes. But anyway, so they're talking about that.
I'm just realizing that a lot of it's coming from upbringing. That period of your life that you're growing and you're becoming a little human is so impactful of who you become.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's rare that I'll see a cast member acknowledge that, but it just seems so obvious to me. Pilar is saying something that hardly anyone ever says or even thinks. And it's such a great sign that as Pilar is being dumped, that she's not blaming, she's not getting hostile, she's just reflecting. It's just a tumultuous time, and it's a great time to do this kind of reflection and even go to therapy. So Pilar is starting to make some connections. Maybe she'll refer to them, I don't know, but it's bothersome that it's a rarity that we'll hear people say something like that. But I suppose if everyone had this amount of self-awareness, there wouldn't be reality TV. I don't know.
And I'm the person that I am because I didn't get certain things. And I didn't get that you're loved no matter what.
Yeah, it breaks the heart. And one could argue that we all have traumas in this category to some degree, of course, others much more so. But one question we can all ask ourselves is, what lesson did we learn regarding how we needed to be a certain way in order to get love and attention and safety? That it wouldn't just happen naturally. We had to be smart or nice or accommodating, or sometimes even the rebel. Sometimes we get love and attention because we're triangulated between our parents and we're the one attacking a parent on behalf of the other parent. You know, we're the truth teller, that kind of thing. Or we are given love and attention because we're the star. We do well in sports and school or something, or we're beautiful, or we are invisible or something. You know, we're the one who smooths conflict over. We're the one that becomes a companion to our parents, one of our parents. We become almost like their spouse, maybe even their parent, right? We become parentified. So all of us should be asking ourselves that question. I imagine that you have, if you've been watching this channel, because I think it would be a natural occurrence when you're watching this channel to reflect. And if you, in all likelihood, I'm guessing you have an answer, but if you don't have an answer to that question, that is a question you need to be asking. We all need to be asking those questions. And she's making those connections. And the main thing is, like, I wasn't given the impression that I was inherently lovable. That's what she's saying, yeah. So the question is, what was it that she had to be in order? I mean, sometimes it's just good to recognize that. That's like, I was given a message that I wasn't inherently lovable, that I'm not inherently a good person. The second question is, how was I groomed to answer that question? How was the system oriented such that I had to game the system by doing this other thing that isn't really me, or it's sacrificing myself somehow?
The people that brought me into this world are fucking ashamed of me. And I don't have a support system, and I don't have a mom to talk to, and I don't have a family that will walk down the aisle with me.
Right. So I wasn't sure if she was speaking to what she's already talked about. I was thinking that she wasn't, but of course it makes sense. It sounds like at least a portion of what she's talking about is that she's not good enough because she's gay. She's not inherently lovable. She's only lovable if she fakes not being gay or if she's straight or something. And so she's referring to that. But I would say that she, in all likelihood, also has, as we all do, the kinds of relational wounds early in life. And it could be related to our identity, but I think we all just have fundamental issues of these sort of questions when we're children of, am I inherently good? Do my parents see me as just a good person who occasionally makes mistakes and is doing bad things sometimes, but I am good, you know? Those are the lessons that you hope kids will learn, that they're good, full stop, but they make mistakes sometimes, they have bad impulses sometimes, but they are good.
That nothing I do is enough because I'm with a woman. It's like my self-worth is nothing because I love someone.
Yeah, just bigotry. It's so stupid. It's just so, I just don't fucking understand. And I don't give a fuck what your priest tells you. It's illogical. It's so, I'm sure you know it, you get it, you've probably always got it or got it at some point. It's just such a simple And my family grew up absolutely heavily Christian. But as soon as that question was being seriously asked, as gay people started to come forward, because in the 70s and 80s, a lot of people didn't really even have to ask the question about whether or not it was okay to be gay, because it just wasn't a social thing. It was pushed underground and criminalized and essentially made invisible to regular mainstream suburbanites like myself. But as soon as they started to come forward in activism or just coming out to friends or something, it's immediately apparent. It's self-evident. There's nothing wrong with it, of course. What could possibly be fucking wrong with it? And people that can't see that, I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
Because I love someone. I feel like it's affected our relationship because I've neglected you. Because I've been so focused on making myself feel better that I've pushed you away, and I see that.
Okay. So, yeah, she is regretting not having agreed to get married or start the process. And that's what led to the ultimatum, and that's what led to the show, and that's what led to the breakup. And so she is sad about that and regretting that. And she is grieving. She's processing out loud with someone that loves her and the person that hurt her, but someone that loves her in a very healthy way. She's not blaming. She's not like, how can you do this to me? Which would be understandable, but it's not helpful to say those kinds of things. And it's not rational anyway, because when people fall in love or they want to break up with you, that's just what they want to do. It's not like they decided to screw you over. They just probably resisted telling you for a long time. And so she's not doing any of that. And she's just, I pushed you away, and I see that. And if anything is going to get Haley back, it would be this kind of talk. You could see Haley being like, well, maybe, especially if things get a little wonky with Megan, which I could absolutely see. I would not put much money on Megan really with anybody at this point. I think from my sense of things, I think Megan is at the beginning. Even according to her, she will say that she's never lived a life for herself, and she feels like she's doing so right now. But as we heard Haley say, she's she's a control freak. So is Haley just less controlling or less overbearing, less dominant than Dana, but still kind of dominant in a sense? There's no sign of that, honestly. Anyway. So no, I'm not saying Megan's broken. I don't know any of these situations, but there just seems to be a lot of volatility. Whereas with Haley and Pilar, I don't see that kind of foundation building anyway. So, so maybe with Haley and I guess I'm still pulling for Pilar and Haley, which is silly.
But I still love you unconditionally.
You're in love with someone else now.
But that doesn't detract from our love. I know that that's hard to hear. This is not what I expected, but it would be inauthentic and it would be lying to you if I didn't share that experience with you.
I know.
So just really, of the sorts of sentiments that should be communicated, those are a handful of them right there. For the person doing the breaking up to clearly state, I love you, not in that way, but I do love you, and our relationship was real, and I still care. And I don't know what that means, but I still have good feelings towards you. I still want good things for you. I like you as a person. I'm just not in love with you in that way. I've fallen for someone else, and so I still care. That weird space, because it's not on and off. It's not black and white, right?
Smell nice. You miss me? don't pull my shorts up like that. So pretty.
I was getting a little worried there about leading Pilar on, but it looked like it was kept at a certain distance, if you will. General audiences would say you shouldn't have that kind of embrace and kiss as you're breaking up with someone because it could be leading Pilar on, or it could be seen as cheating to someone like Megan. But it depends. I don't know how Megan would feel about seeing that. But I'll also say I don't exactly understand where they're at, because we heard Haley breaking up with Pilar. Like, that was clear. But sometimes things get a little muddy. The waters get muddy, right? In that you could have a conversation like that and then the next day change your mind or something. But they're also talking in that Love is Blind way where there's the declaration phase of the show and they can't officially declare one way or the other until then. So I don't know if they're just falsely speaking as if it's not for sure, but I don't know. So I'll just put that out there. All right. Well, I want to tell you something that I thought of this morning. Actually, last night, Stacy and I had date night, and I was going to bed, and I was thinking, ooh, tomorrow I get to watch Ultimatum and react and record it and put it on the internet and interact with the viewers and hear what they have to say. And I get to find out. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I get to watch a show that's interesting and really kind of geek out on the whole thing, right? Take notes, think about each person's point of view. Because I feel like most people, when they watch these shows, it's a passive thing that they don't do when they're trying to think too much. Not that it's stupid TV, but, it's something you do to relax. And there's something enjoyable to, it's almost like being a detective. One of the reasons why I became a therapist, among, I don't know, a number of reasons, but one of the reasons was, and it's true, I didn't know it would be true when I first thought about being a therapist. I suspected it to be true, and it was one of the things that attracted me to being a therapist, which was the puzzle solving, the problem solving, the figuring out, or the conceptualizations of what makes people tick. And so this show and me doing this and reacting and posting it. So you let me do that is a thing. That's my, what I'm saying is that I appreciate you watching, and especially for you patrons and you YouTube members, that I get to do that. And, there's not a lot of jobs in the world, I think, where people wake up in the morning and say, like, it felt like Christmas morning to me. Honestly, I was like, oh, I'm so giddy. And who is like that about their job? Well, I am. And I hope you can find that too. I think there are ways. One of the things that I don't know why I'm like this, but ever since I was a teenager, I've always, I think it's because I'm impatient or a little narcissistic, that I hate working at jobs that aren't great or are annoying or bothersome. But also, even if a job is good enough, every once in a while I check in with myself and say, is there a better option? Is there a way to get to an even better sort of gig, right? And I've been doing that thought process daily or weekly since I was 16. I'll never forget, I had a handful of jobs as a teen, or I don't know, maybe like a dozen jobs. And some were horrible, like being a dishwasher at Denny's or being a landscaper in the middle of summer, backbreaking and annoying bosses and tired after work and low pay. And then I had other jobs where it was more pay and super easy, like I was a security guard and I just would buzz people in through a gate, and people could come, friends could come by, I could do my homework, I could write music, I could write in my journal, I could think, and I got paid more than some of these other jobs. So I think since then, I've always been trying to optimize things. And I hope that you can do that too. And I think that an element to that is to value yourself, to say, I deserve. Now, we can't always get what we want. And sometimes, you just got to make ends meet. But I think just keeping our eye on the ball of like, well, this year I have this job and, it pays the bills and it's good enough. But what's next year? What's 5 years for me? Where am I going to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be? What are the options? What are out there? I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I didn't know this job existed, obviously, before YouTube existed. So it's always just looking, and I did this podcast, this YouTube channel, for 7 years before I ever made a single dollar. I lost money for the first 7 years. So even that kind of thing of just making this thing and enjoying it, doing it for free, for sure, but always thinking, is there a way? Is there a way to maybe make a little money back from this venture? And just that kind of thinking. And so what I'm saying is that if you want that, I think it's worth considering. There's privilege and there's all sorts of factors that gave me the ability and the luck, I suppose, to get here. But I think, a good portion of it has to do with that. And I find that not everyone thinks that way. That not everyone thinks like, I deserve a better gig if it's out there. And again, it's not like when I was at previous gigs, I was like upset every day going to work. I, generally enjoy my life. But it's always this sort of scheming, I guess, of like, is there a way I can sort of scam the system a little better? Is there a way I can wake up feeling like it's Christmas morning and get paid? Is there some kind of angle here that I can work? I mean, honestly, not illegal or immoral, just, there's a lot of jobs out there and there's a lot. So anyway, I hope that you can have that. So check in with yourself and maybe put a calendar reminder. And I know there's a lot of practices like this. I know there are people in business that will have these kinds of things. And I'm not the first person to talk about this, but, you deserve to have you deserve to wake up occasionally and think it's like Christmas morning and get paid for it. I feel like everyone deserves that, but it takes a mindset, I think, and privilege and luck. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.